Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel. I came up with an idea that I thought would be interesting for a video today. It's going to be a little bit tricky to explain, so bear with me for a second. So basically I'm going to try and go over all of the best AFL players to never win each of the awards. I'm going to categorize the players because obviously it's going to be near on impossible for a midfielder to win the Coleman medal. So for that award, I'm going to be specifically looking at forwards, and for the Brownlow medal, I'm going to be more so looking at midfielders since obviously midfielders win it more than any other position on the ground. There hasn't been a non-midfielder Brownlow medalist for quite some time now. So I'm going to be doing that with basically all of the major awards. Obviously I'm not going to do every single award because there's just a lot of awards that are not meaningless, but not a lot of people really recognize those awards and remember players for those awards. So obviously I can't do everyone, but yeah, I say we just get on with the video now. The Brownlow medal is seen as the highest individual honour in the AFL. It is awarded to the player deemed the best and fairest at the end of the home and away season, and it is voted upon by the umpires. The best player, in my opinion, to have never won the Brownlow medal is Leigh Matthews. Leigh Matthews is one of the all-time greats, and some view him as the best player to ever play the game, which I think is totally fair enough considering he kicked over 900 goals as a midfielder, which is just incredible. His best season came in 1977 when he kicked 91 goals at an average of over 3 goals per game, and he also averaged over 27 disposals per game, which is just incredible. And to think that he didn't win the Brownlow medal in that season is just, I can't understand how that is possible, really. He was a bit of a dirty player across his career. He was involved in a few on-field incidents, so potentially the umpires didn't give him votes in games because of this. That's my only thought as to how he possibly could have never won a Brownlow medal. A few other honourable mentions I have are Gary Ablett Sr., who in my opinion is the greatest player to ever play the game. But I had Leigh Matthews ahead of him for this award because Matthews played as a midfielder, whereas Ablett was mainly a forward. He played a bit on the wing, but he was most known as being a half forward and also later in his career a full forward. So I decided to have Matthews ahead of him for that reason. And another one I was also very shocked didn't have a Brownlow medal to his name was Ron Barassi. Obviously, he was one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and at his time was probably the best player in the game. And yeah, when I found out that he didn't have a Brownlow medal, that actually kind of surprised me. The Coleman medal is an award handed to the league's highest goal scorer at the end of the home and away season. My pick for the best ever player to not win a Coleman medal is Matthew Richardson. He kicked 800 goals in his career, all while at the Richmond Football Club, who, while he was playing, only made finals twice. So to kick 800 goals in a team that was very ordinary for a very long time is just really incredible. He holds the record for most goals kicked at the MCG with 464. He was just such an incredible player for that club for so long in a period of a lot of darkness and despair for them. Now, this certainly wasn't an easy category to pick from. There's a couple of honourable mentions I'd like to bring up as well, those being Nick Riewoldt and Matthew Pavlich. Matthew Pavlich, I'd say, probably was the better player, although he did spend portions of his career as a key defender and also through the midfield a little bit, whereas Matthew Richardson was a pure key forward. So I decided to go Richo ahead of those two. And Riewoldt, I mean, he was a very good player, and he also did play in a side that was ordinary for quite a long time, although Richmond during this period were actually worse than St Kilda, which doesn't happen too many times in history. So yeah, I went Richo ahead of those two guys for those reasons. And also, Richardson actually has the most goals of any player to have not won the Coleman Medal in history, so I think that makes him almost the winner by default. Playing in an AFL Premiership team is something every player wishes to do, but some of the all-time greats have gone their entire career without playing in one Premiership side. Of all the players that never had a single Premiership win, I believe that Gary Ablett Sr. was the best of those. Considered as one of the all-time greats of the game, in my opinion, he is the single best player to have ever played AFL or VFL footy. He kicked over 1,000 goals in his career, playing mostly as a half-forward flank as well as going onto the wing. He went into the full forward position in the last few years of his career, kicked 100 goals in 3 consecutive seasons when that happened, and won 3 consecutive Coleman medals, so he could do it pretty much anywhere on the field. He was quite often playing on opponents when he was at full forward that were much bigger than him, and he still managed to kick bags on them just about every week. He was an absolute freak of a player, just could do just about anything on the footy field, and I don't even think it was really close who was the best player to have never won a single Premiership medal. On the theme of Premiership medals, I'm going to be looking at next the best coaches to have never won a Premiership while they were coaching. Rodney Eade coached 377 games at 3 different clubs. He experienced a largely successful career, making 1 grand final in his first season at the Sydney Swans in 1996. He then took them to many other finals appearances after that. He was relatively successful at the Bulldogs. They were a fairly consistently good side without ever pushing for a grand final. He experienced his least amount of success at the Gold Coast Suns, winning only 16 games and losing 46, which pushed his overall win-loss record as a coach to just below 50%. However, it is extremely hard to coach the Gold Coast Suns to any amount of success at all. So I feel it would be a little bit harsh to rate him down because of his time there, and so I've decided to go with him as the best ever coach to never win a premiership. Now I'll be looking at the best ever player to not win a premiership, both as a player and a coach. My pick for the best player and coach to never win a grand final is Nathan Buckley. He played in 2 grand finals as a player. He was a 7-time All-Australian, Brownlow medalist, Norm Smith medalist, Collingwood captain for a number of years, and after his playing career ended, he was inducted into the Australian Football Hall of Fame. He then went on to coach 218 games, got extremely close to winning a flag in 2018, losing by 5 points to the West Coast Eagles. In that same year, he was awarded the AFL Coaches Association Coach of the Year award, and I mean, it was really unbelievable the fact he was never able to win a grand final at some point. The next award we'll be looking at is the Norm Smith Medal. This is given to the player deemed as being the best on ground during the grand final. For this category, I'm going to be basing it off of individual grand final performances, so I'm going to be picking out essentially what I think is the best grand final performance to not win a Norm Smith medal. Darren Jarman in the 1997 grand final kicked 6 goals, all 6 of them coming in the second half, and 5 of them in the third quarter. Now the Crows were down in this game at half time, so Darren Jarman's performance in the second half was absolutely crucial for them winning, and I think he was extremely unlucky not to win the Norm Smith medal this year. Andrew McLeod was also awesome in this grand final, and I can't really say that Darren Jarman was completely robbed, but I still think no one really would have been complaining if Darren Jarman had have won this Norm Smith medal. He also did brilliantly in the 1998 grand final, kicking another 5 goals in that. The Lee Matthews Trophy is an award given to the player deemed as the best player of that season, voted by the players. My pick for the best player to not be named the Players Association MVP is Lance Franklin. He's an absolute superstar of the game, over 1,000 goals. In particular, I really can't understand how he wasn't voted as the MVP in 2008 when he kicked 113 goals for the season, and 102 of those came in the home and away season. He was the Coleman medalist of that year. Obviously, he's the last player to kick 100 goals in a season. It was just one of the all-time great seasons, really. And I don't really understand how in that time period a player could kick 100 goals and not really win any major awards other than the Coleman medal, which obviously he won. He's had other spectacular seasons too since then, consistently kicking 60, 70, sometimes 80 goals a season. Yeah, he's been a brilliant player for a long time and unlucky not to have won the award. The AFL Coaches Association Champion Player of the Year is the award given to the player judged as the best player of the season by the coaches. In my opinion, the best player to have never won this award is Nat Fyfe. Now, this is probably the one that surprised me the most when I was doing my research for this video. I could not believe that he had not won the Coaches Association at any point. He was the runner-up in the Brownlow in 2014. He won the Brownlow medal in 2015, which he was easily the best player that season. It wasn't even close. And then in 2019, when he won the Brownlow medal again, he didn't win it in that year either. I thought that he had to have won it in at least one of those years. He was just absolutely fantastic. He won the Players Association MVP a couple of times, but apparently it wasn't good enough for the coaches. Next up, I'll be looking at the All-Australian team and selecting who I think is the best player to have never been in the All-Australian team. Of the players that have never made the All-Australian team, I've decided to go with Robbie Tarrant as being the best. He was one of the best defenders for a handful of years. He won Best and Fairest at North Melbourne in 2016. He was always in and around the mix, but he could just never quite seem to break the team. There was plenty of other options I had to choose from, like Nathan Jones, Ben Brown, Taylor Walker, although it seems likely that he's probably going to make the All-Australian team this year. I probably would have gone with him if not for that fact. There's Luke Shuey, there's another one, Scott Lucas, there's plenty of players. I could see a lot of room for debate on this one, but yeah, I've gone with Robbie Tarrant for the best player to never make the All-Australian team. The final award I'll be looking at today is the Rising Star Award, which is essentially just for the best young player in the competition. So I'll be looking at the best season which didn't win the Rising Star Award. In my opinion, the best season that didn't win the Rising Star Award was Marcus Bontempelli in 2014. He burst onto the scene in this year. He kicked almost a goal a game as a midfielder. He didn't play every single game in the year, but he was still absolutely fantastic when he did play. He ended up losing to Lewis Taylor, and there was a bit of a betting scandal where David King had bet some $400 or $500 on Lewis Taylor to win. So there was a bit of controversy surrounding that, and some people believed at the time that perhaps that was the reason why Lewis Taylor got the nod over Marcus Bontempelli. And I think Bontempelli should have won the Rising Star Award. But yeah, we'll never know if there was any fishy behaviour going on there because it's largely been forgotten about. Now, just one thing I want to go over quickly before the video ends. I saw a Reddit post asking the question of who was the best player to never win a Brownlow medal, Coleman medal, Norm Smith medal, or a premiership. All of the replies to that Reddit post seem to pretty unanimously give the answer of Matthew Pavlich, which, yeah, I can absolutely understand that, and I think that is probably the correct answer. Kicked 700 goals playing mainly as a key forward, but he also did play stints as a key defender and also as a midfielder. He made the All-Australian team 6 times, and he made the All-Australian team in all of these different spots as a forward, defender, and a midfielder. So he was just a brilliant all-rounded player. And yeah, I think Matthew Pavlich, it'd be criminal not to include him somewhere in this video. So there you have it. That will be the end of the video today. I hope you did enjoy it. Please let me know if you think I've missed out on any players in any or all of the different categories. Be sure to chuck a like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.